Donald Trump just signed the largest spending bill in U.S. history. Nearly 1,000 pages, $3.4 trillion in impact, passed by just one Senate vote. Elon called it a disgusting abomination. Others say it's the key to saving America. But here's what everyone's missing, and what it would mean for tech and dropshipping. July 4th, 2025. While Americans were grilling burgers, Trump signed legislation that dwarfs anything in U.S. history. The One Big Beautiful Bill makes his 2017 tax cuts permanent, adds $46.5 billion for border security, and cuts $1.7 trillion from social programs. The scale is insane.
He has been touting all afternoon long. This is going to go down in history as his landmark legislation, President Trump's version of Obamacare or of President Biden's infrastructure bill. Mark Meredith is standing by. He is there, I think, still on the South Lawn.
Jillian, I sure am. We're still here on the South Lawn as the president is surrounded by those congressional delegations that pushed his legislative and tax policy package over the finish line. It was the president himself who wanted this to happen today on the 4th of July. It was a deadline that almost seemed impossible a few weeks ago, even maybe a few days ago, given some of the action that we saw in the Senate. But as the president talked about, he believes this package is going to be beneficial when it comes to the tax cuts that will last for a long period of time. No taxes, at least for a few years, on Social Security benefits, on overtime, as well as tips. That was a campaign promise that the president made, and we saw the Democrats try to catch back up on during the cycle because it's proved to be so popular. We'll look to see what the polling is like in the weeks, months ahead. And the president also had a chance to call out who the supporters that helped him out there.
To put this in perspective, the bill is larger than the entire GDP of Germany. Border spending alone exceeds the annual budget of most countries. It's the biggest tax cut and biggest spending cut in American history. One 1,000-page bill that passed by a single vote.
For things like the military and the border. Senators have been voting on trillions of dollars in spending with barely any time to check the details and on hardly any sleep. The compressed timeline and lack of transparency makes it easy to slip in extra provisions, which are hard to get rid of once they become law. One big effect of the bill will be to significantly increase America's budget deficit, which is already huge. It's projected to rise by a cumulative $3 trillion over the next decade, mainly because the bill makes permanent some of the temporary tax cuts that President Trump signed into law in 2017 and adds some new ones. It also increases spending on defense, border security, and non-renewable energy production. Some forecasters are optimistic that the tax cuts will push more workers into the job market and incentivize investment. Other modelers are less optimistic. This chart predicts that the bill will initially boost GDP growth, but over a longer period will be a drag on the economy. That's mostly due to higher interest rates. Eventually, the government will need to cut spending and raise taxes. But it looks like Congress and the president won't do that until they're forced to by the bond market. To partly offset all this spending, the bill contains proposed cuts too. Chief among these are cuts to Medicaid and allowing Obamacare premium subsidies to expire. Both programs are relied on by millions of low-income Americans. Nearly 12 million people could lose health insurance over the next decade as a result. The bill will hasten the phasing out of Joe Biden's green energy subsidies, which are now due to end in 2027. This chart shows the projected effect. The amount of clean energy added to the grid by 2035 will be about 1/3 of what it would have been if the energy tax credits were kept. Critics, including Elon Musk, say that by slowing down new generating capacity, it will hurt the economy and delay the development of AI. Donald Trump says his bill will cut spending, spark growth, and put more money in American pockets. That's partly true. Millions will indeed benefit from the extension of personal tax cuts. But they will disproportionately benefit the well-off, and those tax cuts are paired with much smaller spending reductions. It's certainly big, but it is not beautiful.
The contradictions? No taxes on tips, overtime, or car loan interest, but 10.9 million people lose health insurance. Adds $25 billion for missile defense, but cuts food assistance for 4.7 million Americans. Creates permanent tax breaks for small businesses, but eliminates all clean energy tax credits.
Today, the America Party is formed to give you back your freedom. Musk, who was President Trump's top campaign donor, has been feuding with the president over the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, which the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says will add more than $3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. Musk has referred to the legislation as a debt slavery bill and had been teasing a new political party for days. The Tesla CEO did not respond to questions from NBC News seeking clarity about today's announcement.
The stock market's at an all-time high.
For his part, President Trump has been celebrating the bill. The legislation extends the tax cuts from his first term, reduces taxes on tips and overtime pay, and provides funds for his immigration priorities. It also makes some of the biggest cuts in history to social safety net programs like Medicaid and food assistance. In Missouri, Kimberly Gallagher is worried about how the bill's new work requirements could affect her and her son's access to Medicaid. Her son Daniel has a rare genetic disorder and autism, and she is his primary caregiver.
Medicaid is in every facet of our life. It's not just medical, it's financial, it's care. And to lose any of those parts would drastically change our lives.
Yamiche is traveling with the president tonight. Yamiche, going back to Elon Musk's announcement of a new political party, what could his approach be here?
Well, Jose, we should note it's not clear at this point if Elon Musk has officially filed paperwork to start the America Party, but he has said that a new party could target just a handful of seats in Congress and then act as the deciding vote on key laws. Jose?
Yamiche Alcindor in New Jersey with the president. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
Here's what caught my attention. 10,000 new ICE agents, $45 billion for detention centers, 1 million deportations annually. This isn't just immigration policy. This is supply chain warfare affecting the economy and small brands in ways no one expected.
To put its resources when it comes to immigration enforcement and processing. Right out of the gate, this section allocates new funding for the border wall. Yep, that same wall from the previous administration. The bill revives construction efforts, specifically stating that the Secretary of Homeland Security is required to resume building it. No delays, no legal loopholes. The money's already been appropriated, and the directive now is to use it. What's more, it limits the power of the Secretary to cancel or reprogram that funding. So even if a future administration wanted to stop the project, they couldn't just sign an executive order to halt it. This makes the wall funding a lot more locked in than it was before. And it's not just the wall. Border Patrol and IC receive big boosts in funding too. The bill greenlights money for hiring thousands of new agents, buying more surveillance tech, and expanding detention capacity. That means more officers on the ground and more facilities to hold people awaiting immigration decisions. Now here's where it starts to get more controversial. Asylum laws are changing too. The bill narrows the criteria for who can claim asylum, making it harder to qualify. For example, individuals must now meet a stricter, credible fear standard and may be disqualified if they pass through another country without seeking asylum there first. That last part's known as a transit ban, and it's been debated in courts before. Now it's codified in the bill. And for those who do apply, the bill aims to fast-track asylum processing, which sounds good, but in practice it means less time for legal review. That's raising concerns among immigration advocates, who worry that people might not have enough time to present their case before being deported.
The border security provisions are massive. 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, 5,000 new customs officers, $46.5 billion for wall construction, enhanced package inspection systems. Every single shipment crossing the border will face more scrutiny.
We just have to look forward, fellas, look forward and just say what it is, because it's the most popular bill ever signed in the history of our country. Whether you're military or anybody else, this is the most popular bill ever signed. And it includes the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut, $1.7 trillion. And yet you won't even notice it. Just waste, fraud, and abuse in American history. So you have the biggest tax cut, the biggest spending cut, the largest border security investment in American history. We want to have strong borders. And the only thing is we want to have great elections, too. You need strong borders and elections. And my people have promised me that we're going to go into elections and we're going to make sure they're not rigged, that they're not sullied. We're going to make sure that the elections are going to be fair. You need two things. You need strong borders and you need fair elections.
What most people don't realize, these aren't just immigration agents. They're package inspectors. With 10,000 plus new ICE agents, Customs is about to get 10 times more aggressive about inspecting shipments. The cheap shipping lines that cut corners on documentation, they're done. The writing was on the wall when Trump started talking about tariffs in 2024. But most businesses, especially in e-commerce, ignored it, chasing cheap suppliers with sketchy shipping methods. Now, they're about to pay the price. The math is brutal. Current package inspection rate, 3%. With new agents, could hit 15 to 20%. Delayed shipments equals angry customers. Seized packages equals total loss. Bad documentation equals blacklisted addresses. Quality suppliers saw this coming. Cheap ones didn't. But there's a bigger shift happening. Trump's bill eliminates all clean energy tax credits by September 2025. Meanwhile, it gives massive tax breaks to oil and coal companies. This is America doubling down on traditional manufacturing versus green tech.
Every major tax credit tied to clean energy that was passed over the last few years. That includes the previously owned clean vehicle credit, the new EV credit, credits for commercial clean vehicles, and even a refueling property credit that helped people and businesses install EV charging stations. All gone. That's not just a hit to buyers. It also removes financial incentives for car companies, developers, and infrastructure providers who are building business plans around these credits. If you were planning to buy an electric car and get some money back at tax time, that window just closed. Same goes for home upgrades. The residential clean energy credit, the energy efficient home improvement credit, and even the deduction for energy efficient commercial buildings are all being phased out or ended immediately. So if you're thinking about installing solar panels, upgrading insulation, or switching to more efficient heating, those incentives might no longer be available. That could slow down adoption for homeowners who are already on the fence. Now here's one you might not hear much about. The bill also removes or limits several energy production credits, like the one for clean hydrogen and investment credits for zero-emission electricity. Those were part of the broader strategy to move toward lower carbon energy production. Under this bill, they're either cut off or capped. They're also shutting down advanced manufacturing production credits, including those that support battery production and semiconductor supply chains. And that's a big one, because even if you don't work in those industries, those supply chains affect everything from consumer electronics to grid reliability to electric vehicles.
For supply chains, this means traditional manufacturing, plastics, metals, petroleum-based products, gets cheaper to produce in the U.S. Green alternatives lose their tax advantages. Chinese factories pivoting to serve U.S. demand for traditional products.
Wind or solar. There are also restrictions placed on carbon capture subsidies, meaning fewer incentives to store or offset emissions. But in the same breath, the bill reclassifies income from things like hydrogen storage, geothermal, and advanced nuclear as eligible for special tax treatment under publicly traded partnerships. That means companies in these spaces could start attracting more investors by offering tax-deferred income, much like oil and gas pipelines have done for years. They also allow deductions for intangible drilling and development costs, which is a tax break oil companies have used for decades. These costs, like planning, site prep, and equipment, can now be written off faster, which lowers the company's tax bills and incentivizes more drilling. And here's one that sounds niche, but really isn't. They're allowing special payments to individuals who dye fuel. That's a reference to colored diesel fuels used in agriculture and construction. It's a small line item, but it shows just how deep this bill goes in trying to remove regulatory or financial burdens on traditional energy users. There's also a ban on extending the Advanced Energy Project Credit, which was one of the key tools used to lure clean tech companies into building factories in the US. Without that credit, it becomes harder to justify large, capital-intensive green projects, especially if they're competing against fossil fuel alternatives that just got new tax breaks. So, taken together, what does all this really mean? For one, it's a huge reversal of the direction we've been heading for the last 5 to 10 years. Clean energy industries that were scaling up with federal support will now have to rely more on private funding or cut costs. And that could slow job growth in those sectors or even trigger layoffs in places that were counting on green investment. Meanwhile, fossil fuel companies, drilling operations, and heavy manufacturing groups are getting a clear signal. Go ahead, expand. The financial incentives are back, the oversight is lighter, and the government's on board.
And the timeline is aggressive. September 2025, clean energy credits disappear. 2026, mass deportations reach full scale. 2027, new border infrastructure complete. 2028, full customs modernization. Anyone not preparing now will be scrambling to catch up.
Academic cycle. That's important because it gives Congress time to adjust or quietly let things expire before the next election. Speaking of expiration, many provisions in this bill come with sunset clauses. That means they automatically end after 5 years unless Congress votes to extend them. Things like the senior tax bonus, the Trump account deposits, and even some of the healthcare changes are temporary on paper. That makes the bill look cheaper, but it also means nothing here is permanent unless it becomes politically popular enough to survive.
What you should do. 1. Switch to premium shipping lines immediately because inspection survival rates matter more than cost. 2. Audit all product documentation. One mistake can lead to shipment seizure. 3. Build relationships with quality suppliers because the desperate ones will disappear. The irony? While everyone debates the politics, the real impact is on everyday business operations. Your supplier relationships, shipping methods, and product sourcing strategies all need to change. Most won't realize this until their orders start getting stuck at customs.
Coal is back. Beautiful. I said you can't use the word coal unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful coal. China's right now building 68 coal generating plants, and we're putting up wind. It doesn't work, I will tell you. Aside from ruining our fields and our valleys and killing all the birds and being very weak and very expensive, all made in China. I noticed something that with all of the windmills that China sends us, where we waste our money because it's the most expensive energy, I see that, they make about 95% of them, the wind turbines. I have never seen a wind farm in China. Why is that? Somebody check that out. Tom Emmer, would you please check that out? But all the coal miners we love and the truck drivers, in this act, we have officially made the Trump tax cuts permanent. That's the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
The opportunity. While competitors scramble with seized shipments and customs delays, businesses with solid supplier relationships and premium shipping will dominate. Quality suppliers are already adapting. Cheap ones are hoping this blows over. Bottom line, Trump's big, beautiful bill isn't just policy. It's a complete economic restructuring. Supply chains, shipping, manufacturing, taxation, everything changes. The question isn't whether you agree with it. The question is, are you ready for it?
We have expansion at the highest level that we've ever had it. We have hundreds of factories, including car plants and AI. It's coming into our country at levels that we've never seen. And to conclude, not only will we have the strongest economy on earth, we're also going to have the strongest borders on earth. And last month, did you see the number? 0 people crossed our border. 0 illegal people. And that's after Joe Biden let 21 million people, many of them people from gangs and prisons and drug lords and people that were mentally unbalanced. They let them into our country. We're getting them out at record numbers, and we have an obligation to, and we're doing it. So as we approach the 250th anniversary of America's founding exactly 1 year from now, we are creating an economy that delivers wealth for the middle class, a border that is sovereign and secure, and a military that is unmatched, unequaled anywhere in the world. And you saw that. And what a beautiful sight that was, especially after watching what they did just a short while ago. The golden age of America is upon us. We are in the golden age. It's going to be a period of time, the likes of which I don't think this country has ever experienced before. We're going to make America great again, and it's happening very fast.